Welcome to Overwatch, and welcome to another episode of Gameplay and Chill. This time we're going to be covering two things. First, the exciting announcement that Overwatch has been slated for release, and second, we're going to be looking at some Mercy gameplay because I have decided that the next guide I'm going to make is going to be easy to learn Mercy. That's for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, it's that Mercy is probably my second best hero at the moment. Or at least he's the second best hero that I feel most uniquely capable on, shall we say. I see a lot of people make mistakes with Mercy, and so I'd like to get a video out there just to help shore up some of that knowledge when you come to play. And the first thing, of course, you do as Mercy is you help Torbjorn build a turret, and being incredibly useful right now in supporting my team. Of course, the first piece of exciting news is that Overwatch has been slated for release finally. We have a confirmed date, and that date is May 24th. And with the release comes an open beta. Now, the open beta for pre-orders begins on the 3rd of May and runs to the 9th, and if you don't pre-order, then it will run from the 5th to the 9th. The important thing about the open beta as well is that your loot progression will not carry over into the actual game, so there's no real advantage in playing in the open beta for longer or whatever. You won't have more fat, sweet loot and skins and so on. You will just be starting from the word go like everyone else when the game releases on May 24th. Aside from that, let's focus on the Mercy game. We can talk about more about the release stuff and some other stuff in the second match we're going to be looking at today. But for now, let's focus on Mercy. So, what do people do wrong with Mercy? Well, the first thing you've got to consider with Mercy, in my opinion, is when should I pick Mercy and when should I pick Zenyatta, right? Now with this team, we're very static, we're very sort of entrenched. We have the Torbjorn Symmetra combo, so everyone's floating quite a lot of hit points. We don't really have any backline harass either, and that's where Mercy's going to shine. We have some good damage dealers as well in the form of Roadhog and Widowmaker, and also McCree is not too bad with a Mercy partner. And Mercy especially makes Roadhog incredibly powerful, so I'm going to be spending a lot of time on Roadhog, and then whenever I can I'm going to be leaping to the Widowmaker like I am now, and then trying to get her one or two quick picks, one or two quick kills, because she's incredibly efficient at that. Notice that someone's died at the bottom, going to fire off my ultimate immediately. Using it on one person is perfectly fine. Mercy's ultimate is one of the fastest charging in the game, and with Torbjorn on the team and with Roadhog, I can get the ultimate up nice and safely, and basically any downtime I have, Torbjorn can just fire off Molten Core and shore that up. So then I can just keep him alive, I can try and keep the Symmetra alive, and in turn try and keep the Teleporter alive. Now when the Teleporter goes down, that could be a problem, that could be a vulnerable point if I don't have my ultimate up. So if the Teleporter was down, for example, then I would consider it a little bit more whether it's worth doing. Of course in that instance I would probably have fired off no matter what. Having Roadhog up there for that front line is very nice. Now here I try and pick up the Roadhog, but unfortunately Torbjorn stands in the way and I don't quite manage to target onto the target I need. Alas. And of course I do res him, but he immediately dies. Sad days. Sad, sad days. Now the enemy team really needed to push immediately after getting that kill. Right now we're sort of at a disadvantage. They do actually finally manage to push him, but Torbjorn's got his ultimate up. I foolishly try and move into a position where I can jump up to Widowmaker, but honestly that was just me running into the middle of the courtyard to the enemy team, and of course I get picked off as a result. Now, things you should, of course, be looking for when you're playing Mercy, well, it's simple. Look for Widowmakers, look for Pharah, Soldier 76, for example, all very good characters. Any team where you're going to have this very stationary front line, where you're going to be fighting just in one place for a long period of time, Mercy will just be amazing. If you have a lot of flankers, like you have Tracer, you have Genji, you have Reaper, that's when you're going to be looking more at Zenyatta, when you can put the Orb of Harmony on that target for at least a little while, and then just pick them up.
There is no to treat what you have.
And I absolutely adore that Mercy line. It's incredible. I love any contextual lines between the characters, but that one has a special place in my heart. I'm sure they added a few more in the Lucio patch as well. They added a couple more lines of dialogue in the spawn. Always nice to see. I love those little details. Here we're going to see a kind of interesting fight. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite go as planned. As you can see, I do hold off for quite a while, just keeping McCree damage amped. That's because basically 2 fan shots from McCree should be enough to kill a Winston, especially when damage amped. That's more than enough. Fortunately, I don't quite manage to blaster him down and finish him off. He's so low. Luckily, Roadhog does come along and clean him up. But yeah, McCree does get picked off by the stray Soldier 76 rocket, but that's going to happen occasionally. I mean, one thing with Mercy that I notice is that people treat hit points far too valuably. The moment people start taking damage, they'll swap to healing, and that honestly isn't safer than keeping on the damage amp. You've got to think of it like this, and this at least is how I think of it. The safest point for the person you are healing is simply when the enemy is dead. The fastest you can achieve the enemy being dead is when they have a damage amp, and when they can safely afford to just keep on fighting. So as long as you're giving them a little bit of damage help, then they're probably going to kill the opponent faster and therefore be safer, and therefore you can just top them off nice and quickly afterwards and move on. If you're trying to heal them up, then you're just prolonging the fight, and that gives more chance for something to go wrong. It's a little bit safer, but it's a little bit less efficient. And I think you're looking for efficiency, especially with someone like Mercy. You really want to be moving from person to person as quickly as you can. Of course here they're coming at the point with a lot of tanks, but because we have Roadhog with a damage amp, that's just an incredibly potent combo. And of course we have McCree as well with a damage amp, who can also really shred tanks nice and quickly. I'm going to pick the Widowmaker up because there's only 15 seconds left. I don't want Widow having to respawn and run back by the time that it's going to matter. Like, my ultimate's not going to matter anymore. So just making sure everyone's up, making sure everyone can fight. They're coming in with tanks, so I'm just going to amp McCree, help him deal some damage, try and keep the Roadhog alive as long as possible. We're just going to clean up, and this feels completely safe to me. Like, I'm not feeling worried at all about the state of the game here. They are running in with tanks, it's not too big a problem. And here's the save of the sentry, just picking up Prof, making sure that he's nice and safe. Punching Lucio in the face with the staff. It's an interesting thing when meleeing with Mercy. You do lose the healing support for that time when you are meleeing, but it is, you know, if you kill the enemy again, it's the most useful thing you can do. So it is worthwhile. Yeah, that's a nice and clean victory, I think, from that game. And it's a nice demonstration, I think, of some of Mercy's strength. Like, we had a really static defense, and that's a place where Mercy can really shine. I really like Mercy. I know some people find her boring. I think they're just playing her wrong. She's very active. You kind of constantly looking around and, oh god, I love that shot. That Torbjorn shot, killing 2 people. 2 people in 1 hit is beautiful. Anyway, we're going to move on to another game here. We're going to have Junkrat on Lijiang Tower. And this game is going to show some pet peeves, and I'm going to talk through a couple of pet peeves I have with Overwatch during this match. So first and foremost, you'll notice in the menu that I keep tabbing to, we have an AFK. And that's bad. That's really bad, especially for this map, because everyone's going to come and fight over the point, and we're going to have the first battle, and that's going to basically establish the tempo of the game. You know, whoever wins that is going to have ultimate advantage, they're going to have more advantage on the point, they're going to be the defense, we're going to be the offense. And because we're a man down, basically we have 2 support, and we have D.Va as well, and it feels like I'm the only damage dealer. So I'm trying to cover 2 angles at once, trying to damage down 2 sides at once, can't do it all on my own, we get blown up, we get rocked, basically. And Werner's is still in here, so the guy who's AFK is still in here. It's been a good minute now. He shouldn't be in here. And this is one thing that I hope gets solved when more people get into the beta and during the open beta and during release, is more aggressive pruning of AFKs. Where, you know, if you are AFK and the game monitors, you know, are you moving your mouse? Are you selecting heroes? Are you considering things? Or are you just AFK? If you're AFK, get rid of them as quickly as possible, because it does set you back quite badly. It's less of an issue on the payload maps, but it's definitely a big issue on King of the Hill and on payload. Not on payload, I just said it's not an issue on payload, on capture points. Simply because when you lose the first point, by the time you've lost the first point, someone else is joining and they see you're losing, and so they leave you into this horrible cycle of people just feeling like it's okay to leave. And I do think this is a big problem in Overwatch. I think there needs to be just some very in-your-face message when you're trying to leave a game that's in progress, saying, are you sure you want to leave? Are you? And then just something, you know, along the lines of, your team needs you, or something like that. Just to drive it home, just to add this extra step saying, leaving's bad. Most matches in Overwatch only last about 10 minutes, and this is why I never really get that salty unless I've had a really bad day or a really bad string of games. Matches last about 10 minutes. If you can't sit and play a full 10-minute match, why are you even in there? Like, ugh. And sure, so you can have games ruined by leavers, but when it starts happening frequently because people aren't afraid of leaving, then it becomes a problem, then it becomes a real issue. And it also just messes up the matchmaking, because clearly the matchmaker is trying to very quickly grab someone and throw them in, and then you can start getting people who aren't appropriate for the skill level of the game getting thrown in, that kind of thing, and it does cause a big issue. Now, personally, I don't think Blizzard are doing this. I know Blizzard aren't the type of company to do this, but I would quite like it if there was just a short penalty for leaving. Where, you know, I get it that some games you gotta leave. You gotta leave midway. Something comes up, you gotta go somewhere. But even if it's just like 3 minutes, just to discourage leaving and requeuing and making it worthwhile, just to stay in the game, finish the game, and then go and play the next one. Of course, if you're frustrated and need time to calm down, fine, hit leave, go. But you can't play for a tiny period of time. That just makes it uncomfortable to quickly find another game.
Disciplined mind is your most dependable
Now this is one thing I like about King of the Hill, and you're going to see this demonstrated nicely with this game, is you have that reset. So now we're preparing to attack the second point, and our team is stable now. People aren't going to be leaving and joining, we're ready to go, we have a decent setup, we are good to go and good to fight for this next point. So you're going to see the Battle of the Century, Battle of the Century in these next two maps, which is going to be me versus their Widowmaker. It's an unusual matchup, but Junkrat and Widow are going to be fighting relentlessly, at least after the first sort of 2 minutes. And actually I do really like my setup on this map. I do manage to get there nice and quickly because we have a Lucio. It's always nice to start these maps with a Lucio, and so I try and put pressure on the Zarya and the Pharah. Mostly on the Zarya, especially once her barrier's gone down and I see that she's nice and low. I see that they're both fairly low, so I'm just going to spam in here because there's a health pack at the back of that room that I know they're going to be going for. Of course, Pharah goes up and away, so I can't really chase her, so I'm going to put a trap on the stairs. Traps on stairs are practically invisible, so it's always useful to have them there. Otherwise, I'm going to look for this area, I'm going to blow up, and we do also get the Pharah with the trap on the stairs, and she gets taken out as well, so that's 2 for 1. Then just go back and secure the point now that the threat outside has been dealt with nicely. But yeah, niggles. I think a lot of the niggles I have with the game will be solved just by virtue of having more players in there. So for example, with matchmaking, it's kind of frustrating that at the moment there's no real differentiation between what I would call good players and great players, like the top 10 percentile and the top 1 percentile. And as such, like, I consider myself a good player, but not a great one. Like, I've played with people who are just phenomenally high skilled, and I respectfully bow to their ability. I'm good, but I'm not an amazing player. At least I like to think I have the humility to say that I'm not an amazing player. And so when you get matched against them, and especially when you get matched against a pre-made of them, it's very frustrating. But I think when more players get involved, when more people get involved, that will even itself out. So I'm curious to see how matchmaking goes forward in the future. Final niggle I want to talk about before I launch into full-fledged commentary, especially on the last point of this map, which is the really fun one in my opinion, is end-of-game cards. It's an interesting system where it's one of the few times you actually get proper insight into what the rest of your team has been doing quite often. So when your team is, when you're playing something, say Widowmaker, and this is the example that I tweeted about, I was playing a game where I was playing Widowmaker and I got 4 gold medals. And that's pretty impressive. What that means is I had highest eliminations, highest damage done, highest final blows, which is like confirmed kills or kills I've finished, which you get a lot of as Widowmaker, and highest objective kills, so highest kills on people pushing the payload. The map was King's Row. Now when I play Widowmaker, I always have in the back of my mind that I need to kind of justify my existence as playing Widowmaker. I need to have a good reason to be playing Widowmaker. I need to demonstrate that I'm doing a good result and I'm not just falling into a pit like that Widowmaker did. Lol. Actually, that Widowmaker was doing a really good job on these maps, so like hats off to her. But yeah, and it's nice to have that kind of validated at the end of the match when it gets to say, I thought, oh great, I've got 4 gold medals. So people understand me not swapping off Widowmaker was for a good reason. I was doing really well. And then it gets to the end of the game and it comes up and I think it's Infrasight up type, which is, how much you've got your ultimate up. And while that's an interesting stat and kind of a useful stat, it's not the one I wanted displayed. And I think especially in the case of when you get like 3+ gold medals, that should definitely be the one that gets put up there. I don't know how they have it set up, whether it's random or whether, different things are tiered differently. So for example, is there more priority given to gold medals? Is there more priority given to how much damage Zarya blocked, for example? Because I see that card come up a lot. Even though sometimes, I can be playing and I can deal the highest damage on the team as Zarya, but I get barriers projected, which isn't a bad stat to see for Zarya. It does kind of show how useful you're being, especially the ratio between barriers projected and damage absorbed. But yeah, it's an interesting system, and it's one with a few kinks in it. I definitely think it needs to just focus on accomplishments and that game accomplishments as well, where you've done incredibly well that game, you've got 2-3 gold medals, or you've got a gold medal in one category, then just display, oh, this person had highest eliminations or super high kill participations. Like, it always makes me happy when I see a Mercy or even like a Reaper with a really high kill participation, because it means they were helping the team, it means they were involved in a lot of the kills, they were doing a lot of damage, they were doing their job. And that's the kind of verification I like with the system. I mean, personally, I would go one step further. I would even go as far as, when you press tab, have it show little gold pips next to the names or something to show, or silver pips or bronze pips, to show how many gold medals they got, how many silver, how many bronze, whatever. And whether that could be a little bit iffy as an indicator of how well someone's doing, but I would like some indication. Basically, on fire is just not a good enough metric. in my opinion, to demonstrate properly how well someone's doing it. It's difficult to keep track of, it's difficult to keep an eye on, and it's difficult to put real value in. Now, we'll see with that system going forward. I know that it is the brainchild of the great Goodman, and I know he's very keen on the system, but I'm curious to see if it's trying to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. Otherwise, let's just focus on this game for now, because this is a really entertaining one. I really do like this map. The final point on Lijiang Tower is probably my favourite King of the Hill map. It's got a lot of interesting places, and by far to me the most interesting place is this high ground. For Junkrat, it's a godsend. It's also pretty good for Bastion, it's pretty good for Torbjorn, it's okay for Widowmaker, and it's going to be me and Widow fighting for this point as I give Farah a cheeky slap on the rear with a grenade, and she gets blown up there by Tracer. Tracer did a good job of chasing her down there actually and killing and finishing her off. But from this position up here, Junkrat has just a great view of the point. I can spam down nice and easily and safely, trying to deal with the threats below. Keep people pinned back, keep people afraid, and also just position my bombs and my traps really nicely. Now, of course, I'm stuck in a reload animation here, and I know that if I try and reload and blow her up, I'm probably going to blow myself up, so I just keep punching her to death. And then, before dropping down, trying to get some health back with the Lucio, trying to build up Lucio's ult a bit quicker as well. Jumping back up to that high ground is actually a little bit difficult. Kind of hard to do from the floor. I'm sure there's a way of doing it. I'm sure there's a place to do it, but I couldn't be bothered to find it in this game. But right now I have an ult. We've beaten them back, and what tends to happen on this map is when they leave the spawn, they tend to all leave together and congregate in the same room. They don't tend to come this way. So I thought I was safe here, but no. We do find another Junkrat, so I'm just going to blow him up rather than risk the Riptire getting destroyed. Really do like the Riptire changes, by the way. Even it is a bit jarring when you lose the Riptire to damage, especially like if you watched on the first map, Widowmaker destroyed my tire. And it was very jarring, like I couldn't tell what happened, but you kind of get used to that happening a bit. It's definitely better sort of mechanics-wise and balance-wise. It is a little bit unfortunate that you can have a completely whiffed ult very easily and get nothing for it, but even the threat of it alone, I guess, could be considered worth it. It's definitely a better place than it was, at least in my opinion. And again, this battle of the century is me versus Widow. Unfortunately, Widow has support in the unlikely place of a gorilla. God damn it, that gorilla. I got outplayed badly there. And here we do get to see something quite funny as well. Reinhardt goes in here and he starts swinging away. And look, there's a trapped, juicy Zenyatta in the background. And I'm watching the kill feed now. And Reinhardt hasn't died, so why isn't that Zenyatta dead, Reinhardt? Please kill the Zenyatta. Killing Zenyatta is like killing 1.5 people. It's definitely worth doing. Still, we've got 78% on the point. It feels pretty good at this point, but oh, Jesus Christ. I don't know if she had the wall hack up. They've definitely reduced the volume over time of the Widowmaker ultimate. It used to broadcast to everyone really loudly when she had it up. Now it's, you've got to be fairly near her and you've got to have someone say, hey guys, Widow ult is up, or wall hack up, or whatever. So I don't know whether she had that up or not, but if she did, then, you know, fair play. If she didn't, then that's just good positioning from her. Try and get Reaper with this. It's always a gamble going for Reaper because he can simply Wraith form away and get full damage immunity, but also if I just try and run past it, I don't have the safety net now where the bomb's just going to explode. So I know that the trap's gone off. I know that this Widowmaker is also very aware, so I'm just going to start spamming away. Try and knock her off the point. Try and claim it for myself, make it hard for her. I'm going to go for this Zenyatta instead of going for the Widow. I'm going to put a few spam bombs on her just to keep her busy and keep her afraid to position. But otherwise I'm going to focus on this Zenyatta. Of course, Zenyatta blows his ultimate, which is a good result for me. I was waiting. I threw the trap down and then tried to throw the concussive mine down next to it and try and blow him up that way, but unfortunately I die before I get it off. Alas. Luckily, people do capitalize on this. Zenyatta took a lot of damage. He blew his ultimate. He's got no ult. So they do manage to storm in, get a lot of progression on the point, and it looks like, yes, they get the point as a result. Of course, breaking Widowmaker, Winston shields. This is the result of the Winston nerf. Actually, that was a very good demonstration of the effect of the Winston nerf. Previously, people would have a hard time breaking that, and it's literally just Winston jumping into the entire team. He needs to be punished for that kind of action. Reinhardt can't do that. Reinhardt can't charge into the entire team and then barrier and hope to live. People just wrap around him and kill him. Why does Winston get that same immunity? Now, if you had the team to back him up, sure, it's a bit different, but hey, it's just a good demonstration, I think, of the result of that nerf. And I'm quite happy about it still. Otherwise, thanks for watching to the end. I have been Josh, as one voice amongst many. I'm going to see this beautiful Farah play of the game, which I think involves killing me, which is always heartwarming. To play the game that is clearly, you know, blowing me up in a humiliating way, because naturally she just, yeah. Anyways, thanks guys. Hope you're as excited as I am about the upcoming release of Overwatch, and I look forward to seeing you all in the open beta. Toodles.